Hello everybody, I'm Craig Gentry, and in today's video we're going to pick right back up where we left off and continue on with episode 2 of our Not a Van Build, Not a Van Life Van Build, Not a Van Life Build, Not a Van Life Van Build episode number 2. So if you haven't seen the first episode, go back watch that one. We bought a converted Promaster van and we're basically gutting it and starting over. So yeah, make sure you check it out. Follow along if you haven't already. Go ahead and subscribe. And in today's video, we're going to be installing some windows. So we're going to cut some holes in the doors. We're going to put a hole back here on the wall beside the driver, on the driver's side. So yeah, stay tuned. I got my windows unpackaged and laid out. I got all my tools out and ready to go. This is a DeWalt metal blade. I ended up switching to an Irvin one with finer teeth. This one was terrible, this DeWalt one. Don't use that one. This is the paint that I used on the edges after I cut it. It's a Rust-Oleum glossy enamel. Notice it's an enamel and it's a little different than a paint. It takes a long time to dry, but it works really well. This is the window adhesive that I used. It's made by 3M. This stuff was really good. Put in a normal caulking gun, and it used pretty much the full tube for these two rear windows. Both windows had these little tabs glued to the back of the glass. I don't know what they're for. I've never seen them referenced in any of the other YouTube videos. So I just very cautiously pried them off with a plastic pry tool, and they popped off pretty easily. Then I just glued them on like normal. So in all the other videos I have seen, people will drill a hole in the panel here in the middle. Then they'll take their jigsaw blade and end up going around the outside. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to see if a cutoff wheel in a grinder, if I can just make a straight line here at the bottom and put my jigsaw blade into that and then continue on. That way I don't have to get the hole in there and then kind of like get that back into the track later on. So we'll see if it works, and if not, then I'll just get the drill out. Okay, I do not advise using the angle grinder to cut a straight line in there. It makes the metal too hot, it warps the paint, it kind of dents the metal a little bit, so I'll have to kind of smooth that out, sand it down. You know, I was going to prime and paint the edges anyway, so I'll have to do that to a little bigger spot than expected. So on the other door, I'm just going to use a drill like everybody else does and punch holes in it that way. As soon as I got the window holes cut, it started pouring down rain. As you can see, I wasn't able to get it tarped up very well. I didn't have time to get the ladder out and do a real good job on that, but I was just trying to deflect a little bit of water away from the windows. It did fine. It didn't get too wet inside. Once it stopped raining, I was able to get the leaf blower out, got everything, all the water blown out, and got it dried off. Once I got it good and dry, I was able to get out the grinder with the flap disc wheel and smooth out all of my cuts. Once I got them smoothed out with the flat disc, I was able to just use regular sandpaper. I tried the file. I didn't like the file too well. It was moving way too slow. The sandpaper went real quick and made it way smoother than the file. So I highly recommend sandpaper for your finish and sanding work. Next, I applied my Rust-Oleum on all of the cut edges. I later on found out that wool daubers and single stage primer is a way better option for this. I didn't know that at the time, so I just used the Rust-Oleum that I had on these, and then later on I switched to the wool daubers and single stage primer. The trim is super easy to put on. You just push it down with your fingers a little bit, and then you can tap it with a hammer to fully seat it. Just line it up whenever you get to the end and trim off the excess. I'll put a link in the description below for all of these products that I'm using. Before you glue the windows on, make sure you clean the paint really well with some alcohol. Then put a pretty thick bead of window adhesive around the edge. You've got plenty of room. Don't go too close to the inside because then it will come onto the inside of the van. I used almost the full tube of window adhesive on these 2 rear windows. Once you have a thick bead of window adhesive all the way around the window, just very carefully apply it to the van. If you need help with alignment, put some tape down before you put it up there, or have somebody else kind of eyeball it from a distance. But once you stick it up there, you do have a little bit of time to wiggle it around into place and to seat it exactly where you want it.
Bert, where's Nan? Bert, where's Nan? That was really cool.
Once you have it exactly where you want it, put some strips of tape on the glass and the body of the vehicle to help hold it in position while it dries. And then after a few hours, you should be able to remove that and you're good to go. You're done. The good thing about working on a work van is that it doubles as a work van while you're working on your van. We're going to get to these items in a different video, but today is a scary day for me. I have to cut a hole in that wall over there. I've kind of been avoiding it, but we're going to put a window right here in this wall. This is where our kitchenette's going to be. So this is the C.R. Lawrence T-vent window, driver front they call it. It goes behind the driver's seat. It has 2 vents that open on the bottom. Unlike the doors, if you screw it up and you cut the hole too big, you can't just pull off the door and put a new door on. This is the wall of the van, so there are some serious risk involved with cutting this one out, so it's a little scary for me. I've already made my template. It goes like that on the window. I know that if I cut the hole this size, it won't be too big. That's the main concern. So you can see here in the upper corners, that's where the biggest disparity lies in the template versus the actual window stamping. So you can see like all the way across, the top is pretty close. The bottom is pretty much on the money. It's just these corners up here in the upper. So here's what it looks like after I mark it. So if I stay on the inside of that line, I should be fine. And I can trim it out with the flat disc wheel once the panel's removed. I made sure to cut wide around the edges. This is easy to trim off later with the flat disc wheel, but once you remove it, there's no going back, so I was kind of cautious to only trim out what I need. All right, the trimming's done. I think we're gonna give it a quick wipe down and we're gonna do the first test fit. Now I'm expecting to probably, I don't think it's gonna go in yet. I'm probably gonna have to trim some more, but let's see how close we are. Hopefully it'll go right in. Got just a little bit more trimming to do on the bottom corner and we'll be good to go. All right, let's do test fit number 2.
It looks like it's up here, but I can't hear. I'm gonna come hold it.
One little spot up here to trim. Test fit number 3. Let's go.
Oh, I think so.
It is in there. There's a little bit more trimming to do around these corners on this side, just to let that gasket snug up a little bit. But yeah, good to go. I ended up bumping it over just a little bit, and it ended up seating really well around the edge, all the way around it. So I think we're good to go. No more trimming. I'm going to use some sandpaper. This is 220, very fine, just to smooth everything out and make that gasket stick a little better. Got it? Check the alignment. Okay, the window's in. I got the ring tightened up. Aspen's gonna go get the water hose and we're gonna do a little bit of a leak down test. So let's cross our fingers that it doesn't leak, and if it doesn't, we can consider this project done and move on to the next. Okay, so we had a massive water leak and we got to look in it. Up in the corner, it didn't see real well up against the metal, so we're gonna pull it out and try to kind of wiggle it in there. We might try to just loosen up the clamp ring first and see if we have enough room to move it into place then. Okay, so we did have to remove some metal from this corner up here. We did another test fit, put the clamp ring in, did another water test, and it seemed to be doing just fine. No leaks that time. So we pulled the window back out. I had to sand it down and put some enamel on there. And now we gotta wait for it to dry. I didn't shoot it. We were kind of busy and we're running out of daylight. And it takes a long time for this enamel to dry. So we'll probably come back out here and put this window back in the dark and hopefully then be done with it. We are finally done. We got the window in. It did pass the fake rain test. We actually have some real rain coming later tonight, so we'll see if it passes an actual thunderstorm. So this took way longer than expected, honestly. Lots of trial and error with the fitment, but at the end of the day, it's in. We love it. It looks awesome from the inside and from the outside. So I ordered a roll of 25 feet of this window trim. This is all I have left, about 6 inches worth. Alright guys, all of the windows are finally in. I got all 4 of them done. That was actually a really big job. It took us definitely longer than I thought, because you have to have extended periods of nice weather because the paint has to dry. It takes hours for that epoxy to dry up and continue on with the project. So keep that in mind. You basically need a full day of good weather before you start cutting your holes. So, and I'd been getting a lot of and just coincidentally, like, we had been in a drought, and as soon as I started on this, it started, you know, kind of a little stretch of rain every day pretty much. So stretched it out, made it longer than it needed to be, but they're all done now. It's time for me to move on. I'm going to wrap it up with this video. Time for me to get up on the roof and start clearing that off and getting ready for an air conditioner, so you'll see that in the next video. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you next time.